Hi! This week I'm going to be doing a review on a pressure pot for resin. Without further ado, let's just get on with this. Why I bought a pressure pot. I bought a pressure pot because I want to use rapid cure resin. Can't wait like 2-3 days for slower curing resin to go off. So I've bought a pressure pot to try and overcome that, to get a quicker curing time, yet no bubbles. Why did I choose this one? Basically, I asked a YouTuber I watch called Toonpish Crafts. Watch her videos, they're very good by the way, if you like resin. And she recommended me to get the one from House of Resin, .co.uk. Unfortunately, House of Resin were out of stock with this particular model. Then she came back to me to tell me that the one on spray, equipmentdirect.co.uk, was basically exactly the same. It's not cheap. This retails for £280, so it's not a minor investment. It is quite a lot of money. There seems to be a bit of confusion between a pressure pot and a vacuum chamber. Now, why did I buy a pressure pot over a vacuum chamber? Well, they're two completely different processes. One, with a vacuum chamber, what happens is you put a liquid into it, like a tin cure silicone or a platinum silicone such as this. You put your liquid in and you put the vacuum chamber on, and the vacuum chamber sucks, pulls all the air out of the chamber. That results in the air that's trapped in the liquid being pulled out of the silicone. So you'll get a lot of foaming on the top. Now, why wouldn't you use that for resin? Well, some people do use it for resin. When they've mixed their resin, they would put part A and part B in there. If it's a long cure resin, you could evacuate the bubbles from it before you pour. That would be one way of trying to eliminate bubbles. Your issue there, I suppose, is that it might not ensure that you get bubble-free casting, because when the epoxy resin starts its reaction, it's going to produce heat. It might release air as part of the reaction, and then you may get bubbles in, even though your resin looked crystal clear when you poured it. So the pressure pot is basically the opposite. So what does the pressure pot do? Well, air is injected through here. Pressure builds in the pressure pot, and that has the effect of, if you imagine a sponge ball and squeezing it really tight, the sponge ball's obviously going to get a hell of a lot smaller. And that's what the air pressure is doing to the bubbles in the resin. It's taking a bubble and it's squishing it so small that the human eye has difficulty in seeing it. So actually, unlike the vacuum, it doesn't take the air out. It just squishes it really, really small, so you can't see it. Sorry if that sounded a bit like a play school explanation. Right, so I'm going to show you a little bit about how the pressure pot actually works, and I'll show you some of the parts on it. So here we have a air safety valve. This pressure pot here says do not exceed working pressure of 60 psi, so you don't want to be coming near that. That's what this is rated to. If you go over 60, I'm not saying it's going to go boom, but why would you? Why would you try? So this safety valve is there to protect you should you accidentally overfill it. So it will lift and release the air to prevent the pressure reaching a stage that it would be dangerous. You've got these big wing nuts on the side which hook in and then are tightened to clamp the lid down. You have 4 of those. This here is the pressure gauge. Actually, it's the outer one I'm paying attention to when I'm filling, which is the PSI. Now I fill to about 40 to 50 PSI. I don't want to go above that. You've got this green lever here, which moves from side to side. That's basically an air inlet tap. So you actually put the air hose onto this part here. I'll just show you clipping the hose onto it. So this is the air outlet for the air compressor, and you push it on like that. There's no pressure in the air hose at the moment because I've not filled the air compressor. It is more difficult to push on when there's air pressure in the air hose. Okay, so that fits on like that. I think actually when I purchased this, I think we had to change this piece over from Screwfix because the air adapter hose and this weren't compatible. So how do we close it? So I've shown you that you have these wing nuts. You have 4. You've got these washers that go on top. You're actually supposed to tighten them in diagonal, so you tighten this one, then you tighten the opposite one on the other side, then you tighten this one and the opposite one on the back. It ensures that it's getting a really good seal. So let's talk about advantages and disadvantages. The advantages of this are it's going to give you clearer resin. That's the whole reason for buying one. What are the advantages of this particular pot? Well, what I like about it, gauge is really easy to use, the air inlet's easy to use, the wing nuts, they're really big. A big wing nut is far easier if you have hand strength problems, arthritis, anything like that. It's going to be a lot easier to deal with something like this. It's very solid, it's very well made, it's really sturdy, and I think one of the advantages of that is that it gives you confidence that this thing is safe. The welding is nice, the fittings are nice. Got a handle on top for picking it up, putting it down. One of the things that's nice about it as well is internally, involuntary old person noises, ugh, it actually comes with an inner pot for ease of use. So you get this nice flat bottomed aluminium inner pot. I've put some cardboard in the bottom there. Obviously, see, first time I've used it, got resin all over it. Also, inside the pressure pot has a nice flat bottom internally. But actually, I'm not using that. I will talk about this piece of kit at the end, which is what I'm actually using to put in my pressure pot. So advantages: sturdy, well made, feels safe, good big wing nuts, easy for tightening, nice readable gauge, quality fitments. Disadvantages: with any purchase, usually you're going to find there are advantages to the product and there are disadvantages, and there are disadvantages to this. The price point, I mean, it's not cheap, £280. You know, you really got to be certain that you want something like that. Some people, it might not be a lot of money, but to me it's quite a lot of money. Second disadvantage, you can't just buy this on its own. You're going to need an air compressor. I'm going to talk a little bit about air compressors later, because there's some things I would really like you to know if you're unfamiliar with them before buying one. Sort of a buyer beware, if you like. Other disadvantages. Now, I mentioned the advantage of the inner flat bottom, but what I'll also mention is there is a slight disadvantage externally with the bottom. Now, as you can see, there's 4 of these all the way around. They have a hole. That's where the wheels, which are supplied, can be attached. With resin in, we're not going to be wanting to move it around. We want it to stay still. So the other option is to bolt through these, which kind of implies that you're going to be putting it in one place and it's going to stay there. I have a really small office and it isn't really an option for me to have something bolted to the worktop, so it's kind of going on the floor at the moment. Actually, underneath, the bottom seems to be slightly dished. So if I do this, it's actually, if it's on a slippery surface, it'll spin around quite easily. I mean, this is heavy, so, you know, for it to be able to do this, you can tell that it's not actually sitting flat on the surface. But what I'm saying is, if you have resin in it, you're not going to want it to be disturbed. So you're going to need to find somewhere out of the way, preferably where you're not going to kick it, because you probably will break your foot and ruin your resin. So it needs to go somewhere that it's not going to be knocked. And you have to be careful when you're attaching the air hose. Everything is going to wobble it slightly, unless you can attach it down. If you don't attach it down, it's really not going to be a concern for you. But for me, that's a disadvantage. Another disadvantage, now this just sounds like I'm hating on this pressure pot. I'm really not. For the price of it, it's actually not got much of a capacity. 10 litres isn't actually that much. And if you're trying to put a few different moulds on the bottom, then it's going to be restrictive after a while. So to counter that, you can buy caddies to go in and out of your pressure pot. Now this one my partner made for me. It is just made out of some wooden discs. And turn you down here. And there's a few layers held together. And I can lift that quite easily in and out of the pressure pot. So I can get like 3 levels of stuff in, as opposed to like 1, which is great. So to counter the disadvantage of the size, maybe consider getting a caddy or making a caddy, because it'd be far cheaper. I swear this is the last disadvantage I'm going to talk about, but I'm going to talk about noise. Now the pressure pot itself is not noisy. The method of filling the pressure pot is noisy. I'm going to talk more about the air compressor in a bit and how you can maybe get around the noise issue, but believe me when I say it is horrendously loud, and you're going to need ear defenders. So you may have seen online that it's actually a paint spray pot. So why wouldn't I just buy a paint pressure pot? There are people that have done that. It's far cheaper to do that, I believe. Ben's Works, Australian guy who does lots and lots of things with resin, adapted paint spray pot to become a pressure pot. And what you have to do is there's certain pieces that need to come off the pot, and there's certain things that would need to be put on or capped off for it to be safe and usable as a pressure pot. Why didn't I do that? Well, to be honest, I just didn't feel confident. I mean, this thing is a homemade bomb, isn't it? It's huge pressures. You're standing next to them in your office. You kind of want to feel safe. And I felt that the quality of this, compared to the one I've seen in his videos, this looks more sturdy. Also, things that have been capped off. This is being capped off by the company that sell them. And it's been capped off to 120 psi, which is like double the working pressure of the pot. So you know that they're safe. I felt far more confident buying one ready-made for the purpose. But as I say, you can save money by converting them, and I know many people have. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my successes and failures so far with the pressure pot. I think most of my problems have been down to user error. The first time I put resin in, I thought I'd put Vista Turbo in, but I'd actually put in this one. The curing time had not been reached for it to be fully hardened. So when I released the pressure, what I got was this beautiful ice crystal-y looking thing. I mean, that's cool, isn't it? But, you know, completely useless. As you can see, pressure all came out at once. Second time I did it, I made sure I used Vista Turbo. Other resins are available. I am not advertising Vista Turbo. In fact, I've actually found Vista Turbo quite difficult to work with, but it could be down to the fact that I'm just not a patient person. I'm not very good at slowly stirring resin for like 5 minutes. And I get frustrated waiting for things to be ready. It was far clearer, but I've been using alcohol, isopropyl alcohol, like 90-odd% to pop the bubbles. And I think it's leaving a haze on there where I've sprayed it. But this, when I look at the sides, and I'm trying to show you as best I can. It's here in this strip, there's like pitting on the outside, and I'm wondering where that was coming from. So I again thought, well, maybe I've not left it in for long enough, but this was in for 24 hours, and Vista Turbo is supposed to cure far quicker than that. So I did it again, and I left them in there far longer. Again, this one seems to have the haze on it from the alcohol at the back. There are no bubbles in it. I think what I was expecting is a miracle worker. It's going to fix all the problems I've been having with resin, and it really hasn't. It's like a learning curve in itself. Every time I sort of go into something expecting to be able to get it right first time, obviously that's never happened in life, and my expectations, I think, are too high for things. And for the price, I think I was expecting it to just crystal clear resin, no bother, but it's very new to me and I've obviously got work to do. The last consideration is the most important one, and that is your choice of air compressor. This is my air compressor. It's a Stanley 24 litre air compressor. It, if you look on the side, I don't know if you can see, it's 97 decibels. Believe me, you will hear this thing through walls, through basements. It is loud. If you have neighbours that don't like noise, don't get this one. One thing you need to understand about decibels, which I didn't understand, maybe people know all about this, is the decibel scale isn't just like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. A sound that's like 10 decibels is 10 times greater than 0 decibels. Sounds normal. But then when you get to 20 decibels, it's actually 10 times 10, so it's 100 times louder than 0. Normal conversation is about between 40 and 60 decibels. This, which is 97 decibels. So that's 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 louder than a normal conversation. It's loud. This thing has jump scared me so many times. I am shocked I am still alive. I picked a fairly cheap one. This is from Screwfix. I think it's about £115. Got it for Christmas present. Bonus. But had I realised quite the loudness of it, I think I might have been inclined to pay for a quieter air compressor. Now there's ones out there that are billed as being silent air compressors, and that really actually means they're between about 40 to 60 decibels. So that's going to be far easier on your ears. You are going to need ear defenders with this because, I mean, my hearing's not great anyway, but it's not going to last 2 weeks with this bad boy going off in the background. Tip: when you're filling up your pressure pot, you may find that the air compressor will kick in midway through. It scares the bejesus out of me when it happens. So basically, fill your air compressor up, turn the air compressor off, and then fill, because you will have enough air pressure in your air compressor to fill this up to the level it needs to be, but it won't kick in again. I hope this might be useful to people who are hemming and hawing, umming and ahhing about getting one. It's not the cure-all you think it is, or maybe it is for someone that's better at resin than I am, but I would recommend that you really, really think about it. It might not do exactly what you want it to. I mean, I am happy with it. It's solid, it's beefy. I'm sure I'm going to get it to do what I want it to do, but I just wanted to add a little bit out there because I don't think there's that much information out there about these on a UK basis. So here is my review of the spraydirect.co.uk pressure pot for resin. Please like and subscribe. Even though I only have one video, I'm planning to do more. I might do videos on like how I've made this sort of stuff, if anyone's interested, and I hope that you will join me. Any comments? please leave them down below. I will respond to them. Constructive criticism is welcomed. So thanks for watching. If you got to this point of the video, you get a double thumbs up because, you know, you must be a glutton for punishment. That's all I can say. Anyway, I hope to see you again soon on She's Eclectic. Bye!